Interesting story in a local newspaper today on this anniversary of 9/11, and it's about a small. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Small group of people getting a lot of media attention. We used to have a joke when I was working at my last job. We used to say that we could turn out 1,500 people at a Tea Party rally and pretty much take over an entire green outside the state capitol, and that we would get a little paragraph on page A17 of the paper. On the other hand, if you had half a dozen old scroungy hippies in an Occupy encampment on that very same green, and they were playing volleyball on New Year's Day, it was front page news. And it tells you about the choices. And when media says, we check our biases at the door. No, you don't. You're full of baloney. That's an old saying. It's just one of those bromides you throw out there. Nobody does that. If you want balance in media, you've got to hire people to ensure that balance. With all the talk about, you hear about it in modern media, that we need diversity in our newsroom. So we've hired 2 Asians, 2 Caucasians, we've hired 2 people who have African ancestry, and we've hired 2 Latinos. Therefore, we have diversity. Oh, and don't forget, we've hired 2 lesbians and 2 homosexual men. But they didn't hire any conservatives or anybody with a right of center view or a libertarian and the like. They just simply went out and hired same old, same old. They're all liberals, for the most part. 8 minutes after 8 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. So I've seen a few of these sessions. I went to a meeting a couple of months ago that one of these local organizations was holding. It was an Act for America chapter, and they filled the room that I happened to be at. And then when we had Pastor Sharam Hadian come to town a couple of months ago, he brought out about 600 people at 2 appearances at local churches. I should note he's coming back again, and he's going to be joining us 1 hour from now on the program, and we'll have a discussion about his visit, about concerns about refugee resettlement, as well as perhaps even 9/11. Because for anyone out there who doubts this country has been at war with Islam. We keep hearing, no, it's a religion of peace. We're only at war with a few bad guys. No, the people who actually practice the faith as they are prescribed, it's prescribed. Those are the people we are at war with. Understand? And we were at war with them before 9/11. This is a clash of cultures. It's been going on for decades now. So there is this story today. I'm getting hung up on story. There is this story today at a newspaper called The Times News. Some of you are familiar with it. Twin Falls woman organizes effort to support refugees. And there's a photograph here, and if you angle it just right, you can make sure that this handful of demonstrators fills the shot. You've got a big 18-wheeler on the left-hand side. You've got some signs on the right-hand side there at the Perrine Bridge. And then their signs take up the center of the picture. Now, if you were to go across the street and take this picture, you'd be like, hey, there's a couple of kooks over there. I wonder what they're up to. Jennifer Thornquist and Virgil Horner held up signs Thursday on the Perrine Bridge as cars and trucks whizzed by. Jennifer Thornquist and Virgil Horner. That means 2. Oh, there's also a shot apparently in the picture here of a little boy. You can see his head peering over the railing. So there may have been 2.5. One of the signs, with white letters on black poster board, read, "Welcome, refugees. I am the church, too." Yeah, but they're not the church. They're the mosque. Can we get that clear right now? They're not the church, and they don't have any love for your church whatsoever, unless, of course, it's feeding them. And then they'll take the food, and if they don't like the food, they'll throw it out, which is what has been happening in these encampments in Europe over the last several weeks. Thornquist started holding up signs on Labor Day and spent nearly all day at the bridge. Oh, it was a tough job, but somebody had to do it. Quote, "It was very lonely," unquote, and hot outside, she said, but she added she was glad to make a statement. Which is, this is a promotion for an upcoming hearing that's taking place and being sponsored by this newspaper. They're setting this up because they're having, well, you won't have any contrarians there. It's all going to be people who are making money from this program or administering this program who are going to be speaking. And then it says, they expect that this will grow. Of course, because the newspaper's out there beating the drum. You know, hello, attention, fellow liberals. There will be a demonstration at the Perrine Bridge. And, of course, you always have a group that shows up for whatever, whether it be a PETA demonstration, whether it be an anti-Second Amendment demonstration, the gun confiscators have demonstration will travel. You've got all of the old hippies who are teaching over at the college. They'll come up there with their hemp clothing and their little caps and beards that make them look like an old folk singer. And they'll stand out there and hold signs too. And if anybody questions what they're doing, they'll take that usual haughty attitude. Well, we liberals are smart. I love this line in the story. It says, her son joined her on the bridge Wednesday to play guitar. I wonder if that's the little shaver there. He's learned to play the guitar when he's young. So yes, we'll have music as well, and we'll have a big celebration, and it'll be just like the Summer of Love up in Hyde-Ashbury all over again. Kumbaya, Lord, kumbaya. Yes, everyone sing along. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. And of course, you can reach our program today, 736-0300. And sure, you can join in and join Joan Baez. Kumbaya. You can also wet yourself in a dark suit and get a warm feeling all over. It's 8:13:51. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. You're up next. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Bill. And to Joan Baez. Unfortunately, this country is going to be filled up with undocumented insurgents who will be rewarded by staying on welfare for the rest of their days.
Well, and I had someone say this morning, in reaction to that story before I got on air, I said, well, all right, if this woman feels this way, then take some of these people into her own home, but don't ask the rest of us to pay for it.
Well, these people that are pushing that stuff probably live out of town, and if they're on big acres, I suggest they put low-income housing in as far close to them as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think we're going to have these people all set up in neighborhoods where, well, they won't be anywhere near the people who are out there holding the placards. I thank you very much for the call, sir. And, of course, our telephone number, 736-0300. Also, my email address, bill.colley@townsquaremedia.com, bill.colley@townsquaremedia.com. Meanwhile, there is a story at Daily Signal today, and they are tracking, get this, they are tracking, since 9/11, all of the thwarted or attempted terrorist attacks that have taken place in this country. And do you know what? There have been 73. 73! That's a pretty impressive number. The fact of the matter is, they've mainly been low grade compared to what happened 14 years ago today. However, it appears that we're seeing an increase. This is Anna Koyman from Fox News.
Nearly a decade and a half after the terrorists stole nearly 3,000 innocent lives, terror continues to steal the headlines and grow like a cancer, as proved by a troubling new Homeland Security report saying there are more United States-based jihad cases than any year since 2011. Now, according to this 7-page report, most of the known terror plots have been around New York City and Boston, but the FBI has hundreds of open investigations in all 56 of their field offices in all 50 states, and the target list grows. From the ISIS propaganda to hit law enforcement and military, Al-Qaeda now has wealthy business leaders in their crosshairs. Their assassination list, including Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Michael Bloomberg, David Koch, and Charles Koch.
I always thought Bloomberg was on their side. And now we're just going to add another 10,000 to the list and bring them in next year. The sun shot! Absolutely. It's 8:15. Bill Colley with you on Top Story, and you're up next. You're on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.
Good morning, Bill. This is Pat.
Yes.
And a while back, I met one of the individuals that is a Muslim in our community, and I just carried on conversation and asked him how he liked this country. He said it was okay. I said, well, do you have a job? Oh, yes, he had a job at one of the processing plants. He said, the problem is, you people here in Idaho, you make us all starve to death here. And I thought, now here is a guy that had the opportunity to have a nice job, the same jobs the rest of us are doing, and he thinks it's starvation.
Now, does he look like he's been starving?
He didn't look starving to me. He was quite healthy inside.
Apparently the free food we've been giving him isn't quite up to his standards.
Yeah, I didn't see any gratefulness in it, and I saw nothing but he wanted more.
Right after 9/11, in fact, it was October, we started the attack in Afghanistan. Say we, the United States, started the attack in Afghanistan. And immediately, as the army started rolling back the Taliban, it started feeding many of the people who'd been behind the Taliban lines, and many of them had been starving. And you know what? They brought in the meals ready to eat. And the Afghans, a lot of them were throwing the meals out saying that they didn't like the food. How dare you give us this? All right, then don't eat anything. Don't eat anything, you ingrates. And that's what we're dealing with that part of the world.
I think they just want a free handout.
Yeah, it appears so. I thank you very much. And you've got a lot of people. All right, you got 2.5 of them who are on the Perrine Bridge who would like to ensure that we give them that. And the local newspaper, which says it doesn't have a deliberate bias. Well, yes, there's a photograph today at our Facebook page, our News Radio 1310 KLIX Facebook page, that I think sums their bias up. The bias of the newspaper folks, that is. I have this. 50 spies say ISIS intelligence was cooked. This is from the Daily Beast. More than 50 intelligence analysts working out of the U.S. military Central Command have formally complained that their reports on ISIS and al-Qaeda's branch in Syria were being inappropriately altered by senior officials. Why? So that it could better go along with the White House narrative on what's actually taking place. 2 senior analysts at CENTCOM signed a written complaint sent to the Defense Department Inspector General in July, alleging that the reports, some of which were briefed to President Obama, portrayed the terror groups as weaker than the analysts believe they are. The reports were changed by CENTCOM higher-ups to adhere to the administration's public line that the U.S. is winning the battle against ISIS and al-Nusra, al-Qaeda's branch in Syria, the analysts claim. And I've got this paragraph that was highlighted by the actual writer here. One person who knows the contents of the complaint said it used the word Stalinist to describe the tone set by officials overseeing the military's analysis. This morning, one of the liberal rags I was looking at online, I said that Republicans, I think it was The Hill, that's a newspaper out of Washington, said Republicans are going to get their private parts caught in a wringer if they actually oppose bringing in more and more of these migrants. And I thought, are you nuts? Are you people that detached? Do you not talk to the everyday average Americans out there, many of whom haven't had work in years, and who now have to compete against this, and against people who don't really like this country, who don't like the food, who feel somehow that they've got to come in and establish, because for all the people who say, well, they're not really establishing Sharia law. Yes, they are. Dearborn, Michigan, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Cities in Texas are actually experiencing demands for it. Texas, of all places. I'll tell you what, there was a mass delusion among the lefties in America. And the sad part of it is they're trying to get the rest of us killed. And they apparently don't even realize it. We have a man coming up in a few minutes whose son was a great American hero. Jerry Brown is going to be joining us. He's talking about an effort underway. This is part of his effort to build a memorial, a monument to fallen war dead in Idaho. Details straight ahead.